Welcome to day number 19 of the 30-day AI Automation Pro Challenge. The challenge where you become an AI Automation Pro in only 30 days, no matter where you started. Yesterday, I already shared with you 3 projects that I did for real AI automation clients. And today, I want to share with you my most important learnings that I did during my very first projects. And I can tell you that these very first projects are the most important ones because you will learn the most, but of course you also do the biggest mistakes there. And to make your start in the AI automation industry as easy and smooth as possible, I want to share with you my personal insights. So everything I share with you is based on true experience, on true projects. So I think this is truly valuable to you if you want to start in AI automation. So with that being said, let's jump over to my screen and let's get started. All right, what I learned from my first AI automation projects and how you can use that for yourself. So first of all, if you're new to the challenge, what do I actually talk about? I talk about things like that. AI automations, big end-to-end workflows that I build for real companies to solve certain problems for them. Yesterday, I already shared deep insights into exactly these projects. And today, I want to share with you what I actually learned during these very first projects. So let's get started with that. Number 1, clients value fast results and simplicity over perfection. The 80-20 rule is just perfect also for AI automation. What do I mean with that? If you start in AI automation or any other business, you are tempted to think that everything has to be perfect from the very beginning and you just try to make everything as perfect as possible. But this has also a downside. It can slow you down and you can easily feel overwhelmed. And the good news is that most clients don't even expect that. They just want things that are simple, that are fast, and that work. If they are not perfect yet, this is totally fine and you can still improve it step by step as you go. So don't stress too much about perfection. Keep it simple. Just deliver things that you also understand and that you know that they work. Second, don't tell them, show them. Build prototypes, record videos. And this is also a best practice that I discovered. Clients just highly appreciate it if you just share a quick video with them and you just walk them through the entire workflow and what you're building on. You share first results, or instead of just sending such an email, what you think about building, just build something very easy, quick and functional and send them over the results. And they will be impressed by that because it shows them that you truly understand what you're doing and you're not just bothering them with emails and taking their time. You already delivered true value by just showing them a very first quick and easy version of the system they actually want. And you can imagine that it is so much easier to communicate if you talk about a screen recording or about a very first prototype instead of just having a call and both parties maybe talk about completely different things. So this is something I highly recommend doing. Number 3, always include something that excites them or that they didn't expect. And this is also truly human. You can imagine if you order something, let's say at McDonald's, and suddenly there's a second Coca-Cola or a little McFlurry on top. You are super excited and happy. It's just a small thing, but the same applies to projects. Just try to make it a little bit nicer as they expected or include a little extra feature that they didn't ask for, and this makes it just so much easier to communicate your value and to show them that working with you is a good idea and that they should keep working with you. Point number 4, try to link your work to direct revenue increase or cost reduction, not just convenience or nice to have aspects. And this is something that you might have to learn first, as I also had to learn, because I used to be a personal trainer, and personal training is a typical B2C business. That means you are serving directly to the customer. And when it comes to B2C business, serving directly the customer, it is often about emotions and feeling good and if everything is nice. But now that I'm in the B2B industry and I'm serving not directly the customer, but I'm serving companies who are serving their own clients, everything changed. For these companies, the most important thing is the following. 1, is it making us more money? 2, is it saving us time? 3, is it saving us costs? And I can tell you that if you can tie your offer and your automation to one of these 3 things, you're on a good way. 5. If your automation makes them money, working with you becomes a no-brainer. And this is also something that I truly experienced. I just realized that there's a huge difference if you work in a project where your work is directly tied to money, or if you're working in a project where your automation is not so directly tied to making money or saving money. And one time I transitioned within one project from something more general to something that is making them more money right away. And also that completely changed the entire dynamic of the project. And because of that, I recommend you 2 things. First, try to enter exactly these projects where it is about making more money or saving your client money. And second, even if your automation is not directly about making more money or saving your clients time or money, try to connect your project as close as possible to these 2 things, because then I can tell you the negotiation gets way easier and working with you becomes a no-brainer. All right, let's keep going. Number 6, use code and strategy to handle big data sets. You are cooked if you try to handle things manually. This is also something that I had to learn from own experience, because let's say you have a list with 20 names and you run a workflow. And at, let's say, name number 15, there's an error and you have to start all over again. No problem, you could easily do that. But let's say you run a list with 20,000 names on it and a complex data structure. And at one point the workflow breaks down. I can tell you that it is not so easy to start the workflow again at the exact same spot if you don't know how to prepare the input data. And if you then try to manually delete things and to restructure the input data so that the workflow will continue exactly at the point it stopped, trust me, it's not gonna work and it will take you forever. Because of that, you have to learn to use code to restructure your own data. Let's say you have a huge JSON as input data with, let's say, 30, 40, 50,000 objects in it. If anything crashes in your workflow, you have to know how you can write a little code so that you can manipulate that JSON however you want it. I will probably say more about exactly that later in the challenge because it is something truly important. Number 7, use cheap LLMs when your workflow will run for hours and handle thousands of tasks. These cents add up fast. This is also something that you have to consider and that you might not have on your radar when you start out, because you think one ChatGPT 4.0 mini run costs me, let's say, half a cent, and one ChatGPT 5 run costs me, let's say, 10 cents. It's too much. It's not so expensive, but let's assume it. You could think, okay, what's the difference? It's nothing or 2 times nothing, right? But I can tell you, you have to think about these things when it comes to huge data sets, because if the workflow runs, let's say, 100,000 times in a week, then this is a huge difference. And then you have to think about the different costs of the different models. Point number 8, wherever possible, use code instead of LLMs to save costs and minimize hallucination risk. This is also something that is not so intuitive, because you might think that why not using a LLM for everything, right? You need a little number here and you need a little text change here. Why not doing it with a LLM always? I can tell you that after a while you realize that LLMs hallucinate more often than you wish. And whenever you include a LLM, yes, you can make this LLM output pretty accurate, the same result again and again. But if you need 100% guarantee that something never hallucinates and is always reliably putting out the exact same data structure, it is better to do that with code. So if you have the choice between solving something with code or a LLM, I would always prefer the code, because the code is faster, the code is cheaper, and the code is more reliable. And if you now think I have no idea about coding, I already told it from the very beginning in the challenge. You don't have to know about coding to be able to use it, because ChatGPT will do that for us. And we already applied that several times already within the challenge. Point number 9, never blindly trust your own results. Double check everything with plausibility checks. And this is also something that I had to learn and that I fall victim to oftentimes. Because sometimes we just wish that something would be true. And then you look at the results and you think, wow, this looks perfect. It's a perfect result. And one time I was already about to write an email to a client of mine telling him everything works great. It's just fantastic. We are at a 100% success rate. And then I thought to myself, let me double check this real quick, because it was kind of strange. Just the day before, the results were pretty bad. And then I realized that my workflow actually was just hallucinating and it was pure bullshit basically. And thanks God, I haven't sent out the email yet. So I had to rework the entire workflow before I finally sent out the email. But it's just something I want you to be aware of. Always double check your own ideas and your own work, because it is so tempting to just believe everything and to be not careful enough before delivering results. Number 10, work clean and organized. Your workflows should be understandable by anyone. This is something that you already saw in all the workflows that I shared with you. I always include these colors. I name everything how I want it to be, because it just makes my life so much easier. And I truly mean that. Your workflows should be understandable even by people who have no idea about N8N. Just by looking at them, just by looking at the different elements, so that they at least would understand, okay, here is something happening with an organization, here is something happening with a report. You know, this is already half the bill. And when you work like that, your own life and your projects become so much easier. All right, we're almost done. Just a few points are missing. Number 11, always make backups before you do major changes. You have to be able to roll back everything at a point. And guys, I can't stress that enough. There will be a moment where you start sweating, your heart will start racing, and you just feel like complete shit if you don't have a backup. I also experienced that myself at one point, that I just realized that if now anything crashes, I have no way to recover it. And we talk here about weeks of work. And once you experience that, guys, I can tell you, you get very, very careful and you make backups every 5 minutes. And it is always a good idea to make a backup. So whenever you touch your workflows, you touch your code, you touch anything that is actually working, make sure you make an entire backup of just everything before you touch it. Because then when something crashes, you just realize, okay, I can just upload the old files again and I'm good to go. But if you don't have the backup, trust me, you start praying, you start begging, you feel completely horrible. Don't do that, okay? All right, number 12, you cannot prevent any error just by planning. There are things that will just surprise you. And this is also the sad reality, but it's just the truth. No matter how much you think in advance, no matter how much you plan, there will be things that just explode in your face. I also experienced that. And sometimes these are things where you think this is not even possible. How can that be? But it will happen. You know, there's this law. Is it Moore's law? I don't know. But there's this rule that anything that can go wrong will go wrong at one point. And this is definitely true when it comes to AI automation. But the good news is also we are all human. And if things go wrong, this is when you actually learn the most. So fixing your own shit and fixing your own errors, this is where you truly grow. And this is also what makes you grow as a person, as an entrepreneur, and as an AI automation pro. So just expect things like that and try to take it as easy as possible and try to learn from it. And here we are, number 13. When shit hits the fan, you gotta stay calm and think. Don't try to force solve the problem right away. You could make it worse. And this is also something that I fall strongly victim to. Oftentimes that is something that I have to work on. Because whenever an error occurs, I am so tempted to just rush into it, try to fix it as fast as possible, just to get rid of the negativity and just to calm down my client, and also to calm down myself. But oftentimes I actually made the problems worse, or just because I thought there would be a problem and I just rushed in it to change it, I created an even bigger problem, or I created a problem in the first place. Because of that, whenever you feel like something is going completely wrong or your client is reporting you that there are errors, just stay calm, relax, take your time, don't rush, and first of all, understand what is actually the problem? Why is it happening? And then you start acting. Because acting without having a plan is just reactional, and this can bring you into even bigger trouble. All right, guys, that's it for day number 19 of the 30-day AI Automation Pro Challenge. Tomorrow at day number 20, I will teach you how you can find your very first paying customer. So stay tuned. This will be a very important chapter. And then in the next days, step by step, I will share more with you how you can actually turn AI automation into a real business. Today, it was more general advice, but in my opinion, very, very important advice that can truly make a difference. Let me know in the comments what you think about the challenge, how it is going, and of course also tell me in the comments if there are certain topics that you are particularly interested in, because I plan to include one chapter just about your requests. So whatever you want to know, just let me know in the comments and I'll try to make that happen. That's it for today. Stay tuned. We speak tomorrow. Cheers, Dominik.